There you go.
Hey, Coach, just obviously the offense wasn't what you guys wanted it to be last week. What did you see when you and Beck looked at it, and what do you guys need to do to kind of get on track?
I thought we started the game off good. The opening drive was really good. Went down the field, weren't able to punch the ball in the end zone, but that's something we've done for the most part well all year, John, is we've kind of moved the ball down the field, gotten points, gotten touchdowns. Really, where we started to struggle was we just put ourselves in some long yardage situations. There's a couple drives I remember getting the 1st and 10, and we had really two pretty significant sacks. One, they brought a blitz inside. Peppers fired in the B gap and kind of surprised Jake Hollister. We took a big sack on that one, and then there was another one later in the game that kind of hurt us a little bit. But we didn't execute the way we normally do. We know we need to coach better. We know we need to play better. But the bottom line is this: you look at the film, you're always learning, right? Whether you win and score 35 points, or whether you lose and halfway through the game you're at 5 points. You're always trying to learn and grow and get better. I think we've never lost faith that we're a really good offense and that we'll bounce back.
Corbin?
Hey, Brian, looking a little bit more specifically here, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it seemed like the Giants were running a lot of 2 deep looks and mixing in some 3 cloud, and it seemed like that was really limiting your guys' ability to get those explosives downfield. Is there anything specific about those type of coverages that you think maybe is giving Russ trouble, or does it just come down to you guys needing to do a better job schematically adjusting to that?
Yeah, Corbin, I think, number one, they did a really good job. They're a good defense. You looking back on it, you see their mentality. They came in here thinking, hey, they might have a rough day offensively, so hey, let's limit the big plays, let's limit the explosives for this Seattle offense that's explosive and very dangerous. And they did a nice job of that. I would say I probably could have adjusted a little bit better and thrown some more of the underneath stuff. We were hunting and we were trying to go get them, and they were sitting back there, and that led to us having to hold the ball a little bit. So I think they did a really nice job of trying to prevent us from doing that. And in those situations, we need to be better with the play calls and say, okay, they're not going to let us get there. And then also with some of the decisions we're making, Russ taking the underneath stuff. He and I are both wired the same way. We're both pretty aggressive and want to go for it. And in that game, it was not the right formula.
Thanks. Jen?
Piggybacking on that explosive play comment, the number of explosive plays has dropped in the last few weeks. To what degree does the offense miss those types of plays?
I think any team offense reacts to those momentum plays. You look at the Philadelphia game, there was some, we hit a couple big plays. We hit the big play to DK. There's big momentum swings. But we're good enough, Jen, to not have those plays and still be able to function and still be able to put points up on the scoreboard. We look for those opportunities. We love those opportunities. We have the playmakers to go and make those opportunities. And I think teams are looking at us and saying, okay, we're not gonna give you those plays. We're gonna make you go the long road, and we can do that too. We just didn't do it very well last week.
AJ?
Hey, Coach. So Russ started out the season just absolutely electric. And I think because of that, what's happened in the last few weeks, it feels like there's a bigger gap maybe than there actually is in his level of play. How have you seen him this week in particular after this loss react to that and get back to that neutral mindset that he always talks to us about?
Yeah, really good question. He never changes. He's so consistent. Like, you wouldn't see him after we put up 35 points, whatever it is, and have a big win. He's really not any different on Monday. There's still things that he did well in that game. There's things that he did poorly. There's things offensively that we did well. He really doesn't change. I think you're right. It is getting a lot of attention because, boy, we were hitting all those different markers and stuff. And now, again, we're not playing as good as we can play. We're not coaching as good as we can play, but he doesn't change. And that gives the group, I believe, the confidence to know, we're still one of the best offenses in the NFL. He's still one of the best players in the NFL. There's no doubt that we are extremely dangerous and explosive and well-rounded. But that's cool to see. It's cool when your leader is one of those guys that he doesn't change much. Doesn't mean he doesn't get upset. Doesn't mean he doesn't get mad at himself for things or get mad at me for things. That does happen. But he doesn't change very often, and that consistency is why he's been such a great player for so many years.
Michael Sean.
Hey, Shotty, what's the furthest back you've dug deep to like take a concept or a play? I'm thinking of like how the Chiefs took a play from like the 1948 Rose Bowl or something.
In the Super Bowl?
Yeah. How far have you gone back to do something like that?
Probably within the 80s, not going back to the 40s. I think it's cool that they called that situation. I think what we're trying to do, Mike, and not put a date on it, but the one thing we are trying to do a good job of is we are trying to continue to be curious. And we're even throughout the whole year, we've been adding concepts that maybe we didn't really understand or have great ownership of. But we're studying a lot of football and watching what people are doing. Somebody asked me, it might have been you, about the Mahomes in motion and stuff like that last week. I think it was you. So again, I think that's where we've grown. That's where I feel like one of the areas I've grown is I do have a lot of stubbornness. That Schottenheimer blood's pretty stubborn, but I have grown in that regard of trying to be curious. But to put a date on it, I definitely would not say it was back in the 50s or 60s Rose Bowl. But we are being curious and looking for things that we add that we're seeing that come to light, and it's been some good plays for us this year.
A separate question. You guys usually rank pretty low in like yards after the catch per completion the last few years. Is there any reason for that?
No. I mean, DK's actually done a really good job of it this year. A couple plays last week where he actually stepped out. He got away from Bradbury on one. The one against Patrick Peterson comes to mind. We have guys that can do that. Tyler's always very smart, if I'm going to be honest. Tyler's pretty smart. He gets going, and if there's guys closing in on him, he knows to kind of use the old Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, where you kind of dive in between them. So he's playing the long game in that regard. But we have guys that can do it, and we emphasize it. But again, I don't have anything substantial to back that up.
Thanks.
Brady.
Hi, Brian. The amount that you guys threw the ball last week, how much was that influenced by Chris and Carlos being banged up? And based on what you've seen from those guys this week, how different do you feel like that could be game plan-wise?
Yeah, Brady, we went into the game, feeling really good about the attack, throwing the football. Chris has been working his way back. You probably noticed in the Philadelphia game he didn't play as much as he played last week. He felt better last week. That certainly gives you, gets you excited as a play caller. There were certainly times as I look back at that game with the way that they were playing that I should have mixed in a few more runs to him. But them getting back full speed, with him being back and Carlos feeling better, we're excited for that. Again, does that tell you how the game's going to go? Not necessarily, because we don't know how the Jets are going to respond. Are they going to come in here and play a split safety and cover two and do all that stuff? Or are they going to do what Philadelphia did, which come in and try to load the box and give us matchups on the outside? So, but a healthy Chris Carson, which, again, he's looked great, is something really good for the Seahawks.
And then one more kind of off-the-wall one. I've noticed a couple times on the TV copy that when you're making a play call, even with the mask on, it looks like you're covering your mouth. Is that just one of those
it's
old
habit.
habits that guys are?
It's habit. It really is. I'm so used to being on the field and holding the thing up in front where nobody. It's just habit is what it is. So, and again, I'm very cognizant of following the rules and not getting fined for wearing my mask.
Good idea. Thanks.
Bob.
Yeah, hey, Brian. Maybe you sort of answer this, what you said to Brady, but the fourth down calls the last couple of weeks to the people who are just like, why don't you just hand it to Chris and try to get the yard there? Does that, I guess, what all kind of played into some of those calls, especially last week, maybe?
Well, we always have a game plan. Bob, we have the game plan. We look at things. We know what they're trying to play. It's one of those situations where sometimes you call them, and when they work, they look like great calls. I was fine with the call last week. It was a good call. They had a better call on. We didn't execute it really to perfection. The one the week before, I didn't really love that call. So I think sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And again, I think with Chris being back, we know he can go and get a yard. But Philadelphia tried to run it a couple times on the second and third down plays and didn't get in. So you mix it up and you try to keep people off balance. But I'm well aware that when those things don't work, there's going to be second guessing, and that's all part of the job. But that's where all the preparation comes in when you're studying the film late at night and trying to come up with the best plan. And certainly self-scouting yourself is something that you have to be alert for as well.
Jackie?
Hey, Coach, what are the hallmarks that you see from this Jets defense, and is there anything that changes in your preparation with the new defensive coordinator?
Well, there's uncertainty, obviously, with them us not knowing, how Frank will call the game. Greg and Frank and Denard Wilson and I were all together with the Rams, so at least I know the personalities of those guys. Very, very good football coaches, but there's uncertainty. We don't know. We're not sure. What I see from them is a very, very good front four, very disruptive. The front four we played last week had a lot of big names, and this group, especially the two inside guys, are very dangerous. Williams is playing at a high level. He's very disruptive. Franklin Myers is, again, very disruptive. They get on guys' edges. They knock people back. They collapse the pocket. Basham was a guy when we were in Indy that we drafted him. It's been fun to see his development. So their front is really, really good. They're obviously young in the secondary, very young in the secondary, but we don't really know. And when you don't know, what you do is you go again with things that you're good at and core plays that we own, and we feel great that we can run against no matter what they do. But as the game unfolds, you normally start to get a feel, and that's when you try to figure out the puzzle, figure out the direction that it might go.
And last one for Shotty, Greg Bell.
Hi, Brian. Your boss about this time every year reminds us of the Lombardi 50 number of completions and rush attempts. And do you, during a game, keep track, whether it's tick mark? Do you have a handle on how many rush attempts you're accumulating and maybe want to swing back to? Do you have an egg timer, or is there some kind of reminder thing as the game goes along with that?
No, that's a really good question. There's a guy up in the box that keeps track of that for me. Hey, where we are, run pass. The way you do it, Greg, is you do it. There's different numbers you look at, right? So P and 10, so first play of the series, you have those numbers. You have overall, which is the big no. Okay, there's 30 plays, you're 20 and 10, or vice versa. And then there's earned first down. So whatever the defense would look at, you're getting reminded of those stats. You try to balance them up the best you can. But the number of 50 rushing attempts and completions, no. It's just the overall number of runs versus passes, not adding up the completions versus the rushing attempts. But he was quick to remind me on Monday that I think we were at 49. We didn't quite get the number that we wanted, and he was quick to remind me of that.
I'm assuming that's not a static number. I mean, you go in, your game plan is going to adjust. You have a target each week for what that number needs to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have a pretty good opinion. Things do change throughout the course of the game when opponents change or the defense changes the way they play us, but you do. And then when you look at it, a lot of times you're planning on, okay, hey, we start the game a certain way. Maybe you get the lead. Okay, now we got the ball in the fourth quarter. Hey, let's go finish the game off, run the football. Sometimes that balances up, and then sometimes you don't get a chance to balance it up. And last game was one of those games where we didn't really get to the balance that we wanted for different reasons. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.